Hi everyone, this is Dr. Serge, the nutrition scientist. I want to close this series of video by answering a really simple question that I put at the top. Are peer-reviewed articles trustable? This is something I hear all the time from either the general public or scientists or doctors. They believe that those articles are the only ones that are trustable and reliable. And I can tell you right now, this is not the case at all. And I'm gonna support my point in a few minutes. But first of all, I want to relate my experience with this process because I've been through this process about 20 times in my life. And I can tell you this process can be pretty time consuming and pretty frustrating. But there's one major caveat of this process is that your colleagues that reviewed the data and research that you want to publish can decide yes or no if the research is acceptable. But they can decide based on their own beliefs, meaning that if they don't believe your research, they can just decide no, this is not acceptable. You can see this is not quite science. This is a belief system that affects the whole process. And right now, I want to go over a few studies and statements that were done over the last few years, because more and more doctors are waking up to this reality that the peer review process is just not trustable at all. And I want to start my claim by stating what the editor of the Lancet said. So the Lancet is one of the most prestigious journals that scientists want to publish the data in. And he said that half of the science is wrong. And he believed this is another estimate. So he says that the case against science is straightforward, meaning that most of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may simply be untrue. And then he closes by saying that science has taken a turn towards darkness. There was another study that was done a few years ago by Nature. Nature is maybe the most prestigious journal there is. And most scientists, if not all scientists, actually read and want to publish in this journal. So they surveyed about 1,500 scientists. And among these scientists, 70% of them failed to reproduce at least one other scientist's experiments. And the most troubling part of this is 50% of them could not replicate their own experiments. Another paper was published years ago, and in that one, the authors showed that 11% of the preclinical cancer studies could be repeated, meaning that 90% of them were completely false. And lastly, one of the most troubling studies I've read is from this doctor. The title of his article is "Why Most Published Research Findings Are False." It was really troubling to read that. He claims and he showed that about 95% of research being published in peer-reviewed journals are completely wrong. There's a few reasons for that. One of the most common reason is scientists need money to perform their experiments. So meaning that they have to apply for grants, and there's a limited amount of fundings that are available for those scientists. So they all compete among each other, meaning that if a scientist, a doctor, publishes more than others, is most likely to get money. So what happens is a lot of doctors, scientists will publish results in journals, even though they may not be true, just so they have journals, articles published, which increases the chances to get fundings. So that's maybe the most common reasons why there's so much false data today, because money is just taking over science and there's not much science done anymore. It's all based on money. If you go back to the scientific method, what happened is, like I just explained, the scientists or the doctors would state an hypothesis, and they perform the experiments, and 99% of the time, the hypothesis is false. Instead of going back to make a change in the hypothesis, what happened is they publish the data, even though it's false. They do that in order for them to get more fundings and grants, in order for them to continue to perform the experiments. But as you can see, that has no scientific value at all. So 90% of those research articles are wrong. So where the confusion arises is the general public and even doctors cannot distinguish which articles are false and which ones are actually true. As you can see, most of them are false, meaning that they cannot be repeated by other doctors. So what we need to do in that case is to be able to distinguish which one are false and which one are true. And most people, doctors, scientists, general public, do not have the qualification and skills to differentiate between true and false information. This is why there's so much confusion today and misinformation. So this is my goal with this channel, is to really bring you to these fundamentals of science and to show you which articles are true and false, which will eliminate a lot of confusion. So thank you for watching. I will talk to you later. God bless you.